Heyo, what's up, guys? It's Matt with Odds Jam, and first of all, happy holidays. And with that, today will be a preview of the two Christmas games. So we have two games, as I mentioned. We got the first one, the Packers versus the Browns, and then the next game we have the Cardinals versus the Colts. It looks like, as of right now, I'm recording this on Thursday. COVID won't have a huge impact on the Saturday games. Obviously, that can change any minute, any second, any nanosecond. But as of right now, things seem to be okay. For the Packers-Browns game, I believe the biggest name on the COVID list is the Browns center, J.C. Treader, was just added to the COVID list. I believe he's a popular name because he's the NFLPA president. So that is somewhat of a loss for the Browns, but it's not everything. On COVID news for the Packers side, I believe MVS was just placed on the COVID list, so he is, as of right now, questionable. And then on the actual injury side of it, and I guess I should say the players that missed last game for the Browns, like Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, for COVID, are expected back. So as of right now, Baker's expected back, Jarvis is expected back. But on real injury news, the Browns are expecting to be missing Myles Garrett, which is obviously a huge loss for them. He's listed questionable as of right now, but everything you hear about groin injuries, especially in the cold, and this game is in Lambeau, is that they're hard to come back from. So I don't expect Myles Garrett to play. The Browns also just lost their other defensive end, Takk McKinley, to a torn Achilles, and they have some injuries in the secondary as well. And then the Packers side, they're not expecting to get back any of their big names that have been out, like Jair Alexander, Za'Darius Smith, David Bakhtiari are all still going to be out. But as far as that, Aaron Jones, obviously Aaron Rodgers, I believe Equanimeous St. Brown has a concussion, so he's questionable. He's obviously not a huge name. The wide receiver 2 in this game for the Packers is probably going to be Allen Lazard, so we will check to see if he has any positive expected value plays. And then that's it off the top of my head. If something changes, I'll make sure to detail that. But let's get into the game. So a pretty big game for both teams. Obviously, the Packers, with the Bucks and the Cardinals losing, now have sole possession of first place in the NFC, so they're on track to be the 1 seed again for the second straight year. Let's hope they don't blow it again if this happens. But let me check the standings just to make sure that that's right, so I don't look like an idiot. Conference. So yeah, they have sole possession of first place as of right now. So it's a big game for them. Obviously, you want to be in first place to get the bye. For the Browns, they are currently last place in their division, but they're only one game out. So the NFC or AFC North is just an absolute gauntlet. So they're 7-7, but they have wins over both the Ravens and the Bengals. They still have to play the Bengals again. The Ravens, they split, and the Steelers, I know they won't, unless they tie game, they won't be tied with them. But I know they've played once and beat them. I can't remember if they've played another time. But either way, they're the Browns are right in the thick of it. So they need this game. Right now they're the 12th seed, but you can see all these jumbled teams at 8-6, 7-7. So they definitely have a chance. So big game for both teams. Obviously, the Packers are huge favorites here. Looking at the the Odds Jam Perfect line has the Packers at minus 334 with no positive EV there. And then the Browns at plus 284 with really no real positive EV to speak of regarding like plus 1 point versus the Odds Jam Perfect line and what Unibet and a bunch of other sportsbook have. So going towards the spread, the odds have settled on the Packers minus 7.5. And that makes sense because this is in Green Bay. Green Bay is clearly the better team. So the being over a touchdown favorite does make sense to me. But what I thought was kind of interesting is, as of right now, looking at the page, lines are, or I should say, positive expected value is trending towards the Browns at almost every step, starting at +5. 13 points there at +5, 7 points at 5.5, 5 at 6, 8 at 6.5, 5 at 7, 2 at 7.5, 4 at 8, and then it goes on from there. So the highest positive EV is actually Browns +5. I'm not super confident in the Browns keeping it that close. I think they could keep it within a touchdown, so I do like the +7.5, which you're getting on a ton of lines. And I know that sounds counterintuitive. I believe the stat is that Aaron Rodgers the Packers are 16-6 at home the past couple years. I don't really think there's a quarterback playing better than Aaron Rodgers right now. But if you look at their schedule, they have been playing well, but they haven't quite been blowing. Teams out. So last week they let the Ravens come back on them. They beat the Bears by 15, but that was a weird game. The Bears were up by double digits multiple times. They gave up 24 points in the second quarter, and then kind of took it to them late. The Bears, as we all saw Monday night, are an absolute joke. Prior to that, they lost to the Vikings. They shut out Seattle in a weird game. That was Russell Wilson's first game back. And then they beat the Rams by 8. Again, the Rams scored 11 points late, so really that was closer. The score was closer than the game actually looked, but that does highlight a trend of Packers. If they do have a big lead, sometimes they'll let teams come back into it. So as of right now, the Packers would be my Super Bowl pick out of the NFC, but if I were to pick a Christmas game in December, I actually think the Browns are going to cover here. So I don't have a ton of confidence in this. It's not going to be a big play by any means. If I had to give a prediction, I would give the Browns +7.5. Like I said, it's not going to be a big play. And if you think about it, so looking at just the actual how these teams match up, the Browns obviously like to run the ball with Nick Chubb, and Kareem Hunt is out, so they have D'Ernest Johnson. With Baker Mayfield back, they should look a little better on offense than they did last week against the Raiders. Obviously, this is a short week for the Browns because they played on Monday as opposed to having the full week off like they should have if they ended up playing last Saturday. And they gain a day on the Packers, so nothing crazy. But I can just see this being a game that is kept close. Nick Chubb, I believe, is going to have a good rushing game. The Packers don't have a great rush defense. I have their DVOA pulled up here. They just have, let me put it on the screen so everybody can see it. If you go to their defense, and you look at rush DVOA, Green Bay is all the way down at 25th. So they don't have a good rush defense. And with an offense like the Browns, they're going to try and run the ball, especially getting Baker back. Not that I'm a huge Baker guy. I think he actually kind of stinks, but he's better than Nick Mullins, and at least he has some familiarity with the team. So I don't quite see this being a blowout, but like I said, I'm not super confident in it, so I wouldn't recommend it as a huge play, but just to have a prediction out there for the spread, I'll take the Browns +7.5. The play that I like the most is the total points. So right now the line is settled at over 45.5. So the OddsJam Perfect line has it at -113. Multiple books, you're getting it at -110, and it's even bigger positive expected value if you buy a couple points. So even a half point gets you to 7 versus the OddsJam Perfect line -122, over 45 -115 on BetMGM. Even more if you go to 44.5. So I'm going to make my official big play of the game going to be the over 45. I know people are probably scarred betting on overs based on how the Monday and Tuesday night games went. I don't, because I think the under went 3 out of the 4 games. The only game that went over was kind of a BS over, and that was in the Washington football team Eagles game. But that's a bettor's fallacy if you let that dictate. 3 of those games were postponed, so a lot of weirdness involved. I know Saturday kind of could be possibly weirdness, but I don't think it's going to be as much, especially because teams at least were planning to play this day the whole time. The only thing that got a little bit disrupted is the Browns having 2 days rest. But either way, I'm confident in the over 45, so that's going to be my big play, is the over 45 at -115 odds on BetMGM. And then let's refresh the positive EV page to see if there are any plays. There weren't last time I checked. Brown. So unfortunately, there's no positive EV play to give you there. So my only play for the day is going to be the over 45. Like I said, -115 on BetMGM. And to get a prediction out there, I'll take the Browns 7.5, but not super confident in that. And I'll refresh the page as the video goes on to see if there are any more plays, or any, I should say. So, next game, Cardinals versus the Colts. Let me refresh it to make sure the odds are fresh. This is another big game for both teams, kind of going in opposite directions. So the Cardinals started off 7-0, I believe. They are 3-4 since, coming off 2 losses in a row. One of them being to the lowly Lions. They gave them their second win of the year. Not only did they lose, they got blown out. Cardinals have not looked good. I've never been a Cliff guy. I've never been a fan. I was quiet during the first 7 weeks, and then when they won 2 out of 3 games when Kyler was hurt. But since that 7-0 start, like I said, they've gone 3-4, and their slow starts go back even further. So if you remember last year, they started 6-3, and they ended the season 3-5, and they lost some bad games in that stretch. The year before that, that was Kyler and Cliff's first year. They started 3-1, and they finished 2-7. That one you give a little bit more. You give them a little more leeway because it was both of their first year in the NFL. But still, trending. It's been trending this way with Cliff for a while. Even going back, I saw a stat going back to his Texas Tech days. His teams have all started fast, finished slow. Injury news for this game. I don't believe there is anything crazy. I don't think there are any COVID implications. Jonathan Taylor's healthy. The biggest injury news for the Cardinals is that they've been missing their best player on offense and defense, but that's not new for this game. DeAndre Hopkins is out for the year, maybe even for the playoffs. Same with J.J. Watt. He's been out for a while now, and you've really seen a turn in the Cardinals' defense since J.J. Watt came out. If you look at their schedule, at the beginning of the year, you didn't want to play against the Cardinals' defense, but since then, or as time has gone on, they've really been struggling. So the 34 points of the Panthers was a game Kyler missed, but still bad. That was Cam Newton's first game back. 22 to the Bears isn't terrible, but Andy Dalton, they had 4 turnovers. They only really gave up over a little less than 330 yards, so not terrible, but the last 2 weeks have been brutal. The Rams put up 30 against them, which, the Rams prior to this game had been struggling on offense, so maybe they figured some stuff out. Obviously, the Rams won again against Seattle just on Tuesday night. And then giving up 30 points to the lowly Lions. That's tough. And not only did they give up 30 points, but they got shredded too. So Jared Goff hit them for 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Craig Reynolds ran for 112 yards on 26 carries. And if that sounds bad, it is, because now they're playing the hottest and best running back in the league in Jonathan Taylor. So if you can't tell by now, my pick for this game is going to be the Colts. I was surprised to see the Cardinals favored. I believe the game, it's in Arizona, but they actually have a worse home record than they do away. They just had their first away loss last week against the Lions, so I don't really put too much emphasis on them being away. And the Colts are hot. If you look at their schedule, they've won. So they're 8-6. I believe they started 1-5 or 2-5. So they've won. They've lost one game in the past, pretty much since this Ravens loss in October. The Titans lost in October. They've lost one game since then, and that was to the Bucs in a good game. They scored 31 points. They were kind of up on them the whole game, and the Bucs came back. I know majority of these wins have been against bad teams, but they haven't just won; they've blown them out, and they did blow out a good team in this stretch, and that was the Bills, 41-15. So since that loss to the Ravens, they've, like I said, they've been good since. They beat the Texans 31-3. They blew out the 49ers, and then you go on and on. And they really dominated the Patriots last week. I know it was kind of a fluky. One of their touchdowns was fluky with the blocked punt, and Carson Wentz only had the pass 12 times, and he didn't look good doing it. But the Patriots defense is, as of right now, the number 1 defense in the league, according to DVOA. The Cardinals defense has been struggling. So my favorite play of all the Christmas games is the Colts Moneyline. As you can see, there's a little bit of positive expected value there on multiple books. So pick your litter. Barstool, BetRivers, DraftKings, FanDuel, Unibet, WinBet. Pick your sportsbook. And if you want to look at the spread, obviously I'm taking the Colts straight up. It's settled on the Colts at +1. And there is some positive expected value if you sell some points. If you get them at 1.5, it's -110. OddsJam Perfect Line has that at -117. There's even more if you get another point, and then the most at 3.5. But -160 at +3.5. I'm just taking them money line. I'm taking them straight up. The Colts are hot. I think that they're going to be able to run the ball all over the Cardinals. I've never been a Cliff fan. I didn't realize how bad his team's fading at the end of the season was until I looked it up before this video. So my favorite play of the night is, like I said, the Colts money line. And looking at the total points, I believe odds are trending towards the under, but not by a ton. So the under right now is settled between over 48.5 and 49. And there's a little bit of difference between the OddsJam Perfect Line, but only one. If I had to guess, I would say this game would go under, but I put that in the same category as the Browns spread, and that I'm not super confident in it. It's not going to be one of my official plays, but to get a prediction out there, I do think it goes under. It seems like a game where the Cardinals offense struggles again. I still don't think Kyler's healthy. I know there was a couple plays last week against the Lions where you're used to him breaking free, and he didn't. He would get tackled. The Colts defense is phenomenal. They have a really good linebacker in Darius Leonard. They have a good defensive line, and they have a star in, I believe, Buckner is the stud they have. They're the guy they got from the 49ers. And they're solid in the secondary. So a good matchup for the Colts defense. And the Cardinals offense just isn't quite what it was at the beginning of the year. So if I had to guess, I would probably say, like I said, this goes under, but I'm not confident enough to make it an official play. My one official play for this game, and my most confident play, just to reiterate, is the Colts money line at +100. Now let's refresh this again. I saw there was one Doyle under receiving yards. It looks like as of right now, there's only one positive expected value play for both of these games. It is Jack Doyle under 18.5 receiving yards. A decent amount of positive expected value, although the market width is worse than you would like. But if you look at his stats, which I did prior, he's hit or miss. He had a great game against the Bucs when the Colts had to pass a ton, and then he has 2 catches the past 2 weeks. Obviously, he doesn't need to have a huge game to beat the 18.5, but he's not a focal point of the offense. So I wouldn't be surprised if he hit it. I'll probably, as the one positive EV play of the day, I'll sprinkle a little bit on it. I'd probably, if I were to rank my favorite plays, and I'll do that at the end. Number 1, Colts Moneyline, +100. I think that's a great play. Number 2, the over on the Packers-Browns game. I think that total is a little bit undervalued. My third would probably be this Jack Doyle under, I should say, receiving yards at 18.5. The odds on that, you're getting that at -115 on DraftKings. And then my last 2, I would say, of all the predictions that I've had, would be the Cardinals Colts under, and then last would be the Browns covering the spread. If I had to pick, I'll take the Browns, but that spread is probably a no touch to me because there's too many. I don't know. There's too much history of the Packers covering the spread. It just seems like a game where all the analytics are favoring Cleveland covering the spread. So that's why I'm not confident in that. But and that's all I got for you. So unfortunately, I wish there were more positive EV plays. You'll have to follow me on Twitter. I'll post them as the day goes on, or as the days go on. You can follow me on Twitter, Modi_sports. You can email me, Matthew@oddsjam.com. You can comment on the video as well to give me any feedback. I would love to hear it. And other than that, happy holidays. I hope everybody's been cashing as well as I have with using OddsJam. I believe my profit is. I haven't been able to update in a little bit. Is at 4,800. That's always fun. And yeah, other than that, happy betting, happy watching, and good luck, everybody.